Get over here!
And Batman Animated Series, I can tout the praises for that show all day long. Like, there's just so much good about that show.
Funny story, I did not... I was very critical of Teen Titans when it first came out.
Really?
I was kind of not enjoying it.
Ooh, okay. I'm curious to hear about this.
It won me over in the end.
Yeah.
The reason was because I have read a lot of Teen Titans and the Titans, the comic series.
Oh, yeah.
And I was already a fan of the Justice League cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That I wasn't jiving with the tone at first. And that was definitely a time where, like, anime style in American cartoons was newer.
Yeah, that's
so
true,
I was
actually.
I was just kind of like, I know what anime is. I watch Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And...
Yeah, of course.
But, like, what even is this? Like, why are they so wiggly? And, like, why are they... I was like, why are you trying to be anime? Is like, kind of what I was. Like, it felt disingenuous to me at the time.
Oh, good. I can understand that, actually.
Which, when you get into it and you start to, like, look at, like, some of the, like visual references they're making, you realize, like, oh, these animators love anime.
Especially, like, you can see it right from, like, the starting theme song. Like, that is a very anime starting theme song. So yeah, no, they definitely pulled a lot of inspiration from just anime as a whole. So I can definitely see where you might be coming from in that regard.
It wasn't so much that I didn't watch it; I still watched it.
Because I
like superheroes.
Yeah, you like superheroes. Like, you know, people recognize Robin. I'm going to admit, when I first saw Teen Titans being premiered, I had no idea who these characters were. I didn't know who Starfire was. I didn't know who Beast Boy was. I didn't know any of these characters. But I was like, oh, hey, Robin's in this? Okay, sure. I like Batman and Robin. I'll go ahead and check this out. And then I ended up falling in love with the entire show.
Yeah.
Because damn, did they know how to write characters.
My extremely dumb reason.
Yeah?
Was that I was like, well, these weren't the original Teen Titans. They should be starting with Robin and Kid Flash and Donna Troy and Aqualad and Speedy.
I love your spiteful nerd voice.
Who were the original Teen Titans?
Yeah, they were.
But like, shut the fuck up. Who cares? Apparently, at one point, it was pitched to have more of those characters,
yeah.
And people thought it might be too much like while those characters might be more recognizable, it might be too much white noise with the Justice League show going on then.
That is true. It came out around the same time as Justice League Unlimited, didn't it?
Yeah. And interestingly, even though they're not set in the same universe, pretty much no characters that appear in Teen Titans ever show up in Justice League Unlimited.
You are correct.
And there's even little things in that universe, this one of the Static Shock episodes where they did a Batman crossover.
Yeah.
Robin wasn't there. He says, "Where's Robin?" And Batman says, "He's with the Titans." So you could almost kind of squint and pretend it was part of the Bruce Timm universe.
That's true. As a matter of fact, I recall that there was one episode in Teen Titans where they were actually talking about how the Titans originally came to meet, and part of that was
Robin got fed up with Batman.
Yeah, Robin Robin was stopping a bad guy, and the bad guy was like, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in Gotham." I moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, I moved. And that's it. That's all you needed. That's, you don't need any other context. Robin was just, he was done with Batman.
I think somebody almost says Batman once, and he's like, don't say that name, or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of actually find it fascinating how, there's that context that, we don't necessarily have entirely.
Yeah.
But it's they obviously, pay homage to it, very subtly, because obviously, what's a Batman without his Robin?
Yeah, I kind of like how it lets you paint your own conclusions in it.
Yeah, no, I have always appreciated that, because it's oh yeah, do we want to know what happened between Robin and Batman in this universe? Certainly. Do we need to know? No. Let us figure that one out, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just probably hard being Batman's adopted son.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
And yeah, Robin. This was Dick Grayson, right?
Yeah, Dick Grayson.
because he becomes Nightwing. Yeah, little bird had to spread his wings
eventually. Yeah, no, I really dig a lot of like what they did with the characters. And Teen Titans was also my it was kind of my like introduction into the greater aspect of the DC universe, actually, because later on they started introducing more and more characters that I was like, oh, I never actually heard of this character until I saw this show. So I'm like, okay, let me do a little bit of research, see what this character is all about, and I ended up loving it. Like Aqualad, what else? Like Aqualad, Speedy, Kid Flash, gosh darn, I can't remember B-Girl.
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. Is it really just Bumblebee?
I think so.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, because, no, does he? It's funny because,
Not to be confused with the Transformer.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, because I think I recalled Cyborg calling her BB once, and I was like, wait a second, are you talking about Bumblebee or are you talking about Beast Boy? Because he calls Beast Boy BB too.
BB. Also, I knew the comics well enough to know that especially Starfire was very different of a character.
Very.
And I didn't mind that she wasn't half naked like the comic version of Starfire usually is.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to get used to that version of Starfire because in the comics, Starfire is supposed to be a really proud Tamaranian warrior.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not true of Teen Titans Starfire, but they made her like very soft and like a little bit of a valley girl and like very sensitive, and that's not at all what Starfire was like in the comics. But adaptation, like I ended up really liking this version of Starfire.
I can still definitely believe this Starfire to exist, because like she is still a very proud warrior, just a little more fish out of water type of story, and a little bit like friendlier, which makes a lot of sense because she eventually like goes on to become the leader of like the Teen Titans after after the Teen Titans evolve.
Yeah.
And like it's actually kind of funny. I was having a conversation with Josh Scorcher about an idea he had, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently at one point Starfire was deemed worthy to be a Blue Lantern?
Yes.
Like, what? He told me that, and I was like, wait a second. I mean, it makes sense, given her demeanor, but she was deemed worthy as a Blue Lantern?
Yeah, that's the,
Damn!
The Blue Lanterns, that's the, color of hope.
Yeah! It makes sense. But I was like, wow, Starfire, Jesus Christ, I knew you were powerful, just not this.
When they finally did, the episode where they showed how this version of the Teen Titans got together.
Yeah.
You remember how, they're fighting aliens, and Starfire is, like, their escaped prisoner, and she's freaking crazy, and she's, like, blowing everything up and screaming and stuff.
She's, like, kind of hysterical.
And she, like, grabs Robin by the lapel and kisses him so that she can learn English.
Yeah.
Because that's what Tamarins do. That's more comic book Starfire. That's more like what I would have expected her to be like all the time. I mean, not always in that much of a distress, but that's serious about things.
Yeah, it's like... So, like, that actually is kind of cool, because, like, that kind of, like, answers that one question of, like, oh, geez, like, this is nothing like, the Starfire from the comics. But, like, they eventually answer that question. It's because she adapted to life as a Teen Titan.
Yeah.
She was very serious and very, like, powerful and, like, a little bit stir-crazy before. But because she grew up with the Teen Titans and she's been there for so long, she's learned the value of friendship. She's a lot softer. She's grown to absolutely adore her companions.
Yeah.
So, I like that.
She likes pizza.
She really likes... She likes pizza, and she likes, gosh darn it, what are those berries that she fed, freaking, what's-his-face?
Well, are you talking about Silky? Because Silky was the worm.
Not garbanzo berries. That's an actual thing.
It's garbanzo beans. I don't remember what she was feeding Silky.
It was like something berries, but it made him grow to like massive proportions.
Turns into a monster. Oh man, that's a great episode with Killer Moth.
Oh yeah.
Anytime Killer Moth is there as like the beleaguered dad supervillain.
By the way, can we talk about how awesome the villains in Teen Titans were? Like, again, a lot of like characters that I didn't know before that I was like researching later, and I was like, oh my god, these characters are great.
Yeah.
Brother Blood is a great villain.
Yeah.
Slade is an amazing villain, and fun fact about Slade, it took me until years and years and years later to actually understand that he was Deathstroke.
Yeah, that he and Deathstroke are the same character.
I did not know that.
Slade Wilson.
Yep.
Which also, Deadpool was made as a parody of him, Wade Wilson.
Yes.
Because at one point, Deathstroke was really popular in the comics.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a fun little tidbit for you. But yeah, like for the longest time, I did not know that Slade and Deathstroke were the same characters.
Yeah, Trigon. I actually liked the High Five in general, but Gizmo was like a fun, like, you're a little shit kind of villain.
I like Gizmo a lot, and yeah, I will also admit I like Jinx a lot. Jinx is cool.
Yeah, I like a villain who will like really freak out when you defeat them.
Mm-hmm. He was touted as a joke villain, but I actually want to come up and bat for this guy. Control Freak was a great villain.
Yeah, there were some good Control Freak episodes.
Like, again, they touted him as like an incompetent villain a lot of the time, but lest we forget that like Control Freak had some of the most threatening moments in the series.
Yeah.
Like again, one with the Titans East, and two when he invaded television. Dude, that episode where they invade television is like one of my favorite like animated cartoon episodes of all time.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I love Robin running onto the newscast and grabbing the camera and being like, "You need to turn your TV off now!"
And it's like, hey, wait a second, are they actually talking to us?
I'm serious!
Stop watching this show! Oh, man. Dude, I love that show so much. It's...
Billy Numerous, who was actually a TV show original.
Oh, really? Billy Numerous was original?
Yep.
Oh, crap! That's actually kind of cool. Yeah, actually, okay.
Kind of like the original Harley Quinn, made for TV and then adapted into the comics posthumously.
Interesting. Yeah, that's something that I also like thought of, that I was like, huh, this is interesting. That I think they undersell just how unbelievably powerful Billy Numerous's power was. Like they strapped it onto this like inept hillbilly who's just here to kind of like have a fun time and just like mess around.
He just wants to steal stuff.
Like he wants to steal stuff.
He doesn't want to take over the world. He just wants to steal stuff.
Like he's a petty thief, but like this dude is on the same level as Squirrel Girl in terms of like power potential. Billy Numerous has a very, very powerful ability.
You can run and you can hide, but you can't hide. You can run it.
I'm Billy Numerous. Oh my god. Yeah, that's the other thing. The dude can spawn clones fast enough to keep up with Kid Flash.
Yeah.
That's not nothing. That's not nothing to sneeze at. Oh man, I'm having way too much fun right now. Oh yeah, and there was like a couple of the final episodes, right?
Yeah.
I think the character that made me want to study and like kind of like look into the rest of the like DC universe more in terms of its expanded universe, believe it or not, was Jericho.
I love Jericho.
I saw Jericho and I was like, holy crap, this dude is really cool. He has a very modest design. Like his hair is actually really like silky smooth. Like I loved his design.
I love characters that don't talk.
And then I saw his power and I was like,
yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know more about this guy. Next thing you know, I learned that he's Slade's kid.
Yeah.
Like, what? So that was fun to like look into.
Yeah, Jericho, the Herald.
Yeah, that's right.
There are a lot of really great, like, ancillary Titan members that I would have loved to see more of, because a lot of them were just in those last couple episodes.
Yeah. Gnark was great.
Yeah, Cole and Gnark.
Yeah, those two were fantastic. Who else? Like, so many good characters in Teen Titans, dude.
He might be back by now, but Gnark got very unceremoniously killed off recently in the comics.
Oh, really?
It was so stupid.
Oh, not in a good way.
The reason why I've been not keeping up with DC continuity nearly as much, Heroes in Crisis, I think, is the name of the event. It was so freaking stupid.
Really?
Yeah. So, okay, get this.
Yep.
So the point of the series is basically to address the question of, like, wouldn't being a superhero be, like, really psychologically taxing? Like, these
absolutely.
heroes need therapy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it turns out there's this secret location that the Justice League and, like, the collective good guys of the world fund. Yeah. That is basically a, like, in the middle of a field somewhere, sanctuary where all heroes can go and stay when they need to get away from it all, and it provides therapy.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool.
The entity that provides therapy to them is a computer AI.
Oh dear.
And this AI was created by combining the consciousness of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Okay.
None of whom are licensed psychiatrists.
I was going to say, no! No! Superman is far too altruistic for his own good, Wonder Woman is kind of detached from the rest of the world, and Batman needs a shrink!
Batman should not be telling anybody about mental health.
Batman needs a shrink, man! Absolutely not!
So what happens is,
Right, go ahead.
A murder takes place there.
Ooh, okay.
A really big murder, actually, like, a massacre. So, a lot of heroes...
A lot of people got killed.
A lot of heroes are killed there and are just dead, and it's kind of a mystery figuring out who. It's getting pinned on Harley Quinn, who was a good guy at this time.
Right.
And was there. There's other people involved with it. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle are involved in it. But so they just killed off so many. One of those cases where, like, they have a lot of characters who haven't been using anything lately, so they just, like, kill them off as, like, quick shock value.
Really? And Gnark was one of them?
And Gnark was one of them.
Aww.
And so was, speaking of Teen Titans, so was, I'm blanking on the name, so maybe he wasn't all that important, but Hot Streak?
Oh, Hotspot.
Hotspot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Hotspot was cool.
Blue Jay was killed off. Poison Ivy was killed off, but then due to the nature of her power, she, like, grew back.
Yeah, she sprouted again.
Yeah.
Yours shall be the mulch that fertilizes the land type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I admit is kind of cool that Poison Ivy can do that.
And it's just... If the attempt was to try and, like... It comes off weirdly anti-therapy, so I'm not into that.
Right. In that case, here's an interesting question for you. If you were to... No, wait, never mind. They already did that, didn't they?
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, which of the heroes would be a good therapist? And I was like, wait a second, they already did that with Black Canary.
Yeah. Black Canary is, like, an actual counselor. Harley Quinn was a therapist.
Yeah, but then she went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, because she was working with the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess Black Canary would be the best example I can think of, but my catch-all answer is somebody who went to medical school. Somebody who studied to be a psychiatrist or psychologist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, like, I can see Black Canary being that, but
yeah.
if we were to, like, make that actually a thing, and, like, who would be a good therapist in the DC universe for that purpose alone? That's kind of, like, difficult, because a lot of the characters in the DC universe are kind of messed up in some way, shape, or form.
Maybe Martian Manhunter or something?
Martian Manhunter actually wouldn't be too bad, specifically because of the fact that he has telepathic powers that can look into people's, like, you know, psyche. So he would at least have some idea of what to do about it.
Something that I think is really interesting in the X-Men comics over on the Marvel side.
Yeah.
They've mentioned in passing before, while Emma Frost was the headmistress at the Xavier Institute.
Yeah.
That there was a class she offered. This was the point when there were like hundreds of mutants going there.
Right.
She had a class called Psychic Ethics that was all
Really?
about using telepathy responsibly.
Interesting. That's actually kind of cool. See, that's the funny thing, too, because, like, I imagine there's plenty of characters in Marvel who would actually be really good for this. Not a lot, but I think there's more in there than there are in DC, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. My mind is blanking, but I think there's a superhero who is a psychologist.
Like, just a straight-up psychologist? Yeah, because I'm trying to think through the Marvel universe now, and, like, I don't know, maybe Doctor Strange? But, like, Doctor Strange has kind of his own issues that he had to work out through.
Right. Doc Samson.
Oh, yeah!
Doc
I
Samson
forgot about him!
Is a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's true!
And has been brought in many times of, like... We've seen a lot of characters go to him.
That's actually really... Yeah, I forgot about that! See, like, I actually really like that idea of, like, you know, superhero therapy, because goodness gracious, superheroes need therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the boss coming in.
Apparently, according to something I'm reading right now, Charles Xavier does have a degree in psychology, among other things. That makes sense.
Again, another character who has the ability to, like, use telepathy and stuff. I can definitely see Charles Xavier being, like, fitting that role. Honestly, like, that makes sense, too, because he's kind of the glue that keeps the X-Men together, in a sense.
Yeah. There are at least versions of Stephen Strange in the multiverse that are psychologists.
Okay. So yeah, like, Doctor Strange has fulfilled that role, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the MCU Doctor Strange notwithstanding, because, like, he has his own issues, obviously. But now, like, there are plenty of, like, iterations of, like, I want to open that chest first. Okay, not bad.
Yeah, I can remember now specifically an issue of X Factor.
Yeah.
Where they're all unpacking the death of one of their team members, and it's just cutting between different heroes all talking to Doc Samson.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are happy to talk about it, and some of them are very resistant.
Got it. Makes sense. Alright, so we are coming in at tower floor number 4. Just gonna say right now, guys, this is a lot to go through. We are having a great conversation here.
Yeah.
But we're still going through a lot here. So, how many floors did you say?
8.
8. Here's what I'm proposing.
Okay.
Just for posterity's sake, for, like, the rest of the audience, right? We're gonna do tower 4, and then we're gonna take a small break in between Tower 4 and Tower 5, and we'll finish Tower 5 in our next recording session.
Okay.
Just so we're not burning ourselves out, because like, we're talking a lot here, guys.
Because this is like eating potato chips. You can just kind of keep grabbing them, and then you realize you've eaten too many potato chips.
See, the funny thing is, like, you say potato chips, like, I would probably use the analogy of biscuits.
Biscuits.
Have you ever had Popeye's biscuits?
Yes, I do really like Popeyes.
Oh, Popeye's biscuits are great. They dry you out.
Yeah.
Like, really bad. Okay, so we got an interesting conundrum here. We can only put 3. We have to put 3 people up here, and they're going to be, like, surrounded on all fronts.
Well, I don't see any moguls, so I think Gilliam could go up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I brought Marissa and Joshua in to get some action, but, like, I think this should be a job for Gilliam.
How about Gilliam, Ephraim, and Dusel on the top part?
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. I'll bench Marissa and we'll bring Gilliam up there.
Okay.
So, Ephraim, Gilliam, and Dusel.
Nice.
And everyone else can just be down here.
Cool. Can I tell you a really good part of that X Factor story, though?
Absolutely.
Doc Samson. They're
Yeah, hit me, man.
they're each.
Don't actually hit me, but you know.
So there's different things like Polaris is talking about like body positivity issues of like how she's the beautiful one and she feels like that's her only value, and Strongman is saying how he's like, you're kind of realizing that his like smiling joking persona is kind of all a facade of like what he uses to protect himself emotionally. But Quicksilver is on that team. And he keeps being like, he like doesn't want to be there, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, your government liaison of X Factor has insisted, so we don't, and says something about like, well, the government's insisting on 2 hours combined of psychology, and if you're not going to talk, it like doesn't count. Like, we need to be like having constructive conversation.
Yeah.
So he finally is like, and Doc Sam is like, okay, all right, Piotr, tell me why you hate it here so much. Like, why don't you think this would help you? And he's like, it's just like so for... And then he finally like goes off on this like, have you ever been like in line to like use an ATM or at the cash register or something like that, and there's this little old lady who insists on paying with cash or can't find her money or keeps changing her mind on things, and she's just taking forever, and you just want to go, that's how I am with literally everybody in the world all the time.
Ooh.
You are all speaking to me in slow motion.
Oh, you know what? That's actually kind of interesting.
And he's like, I'm sitting here, this is torture.
Wow. You know what? That's actually kind of interesting. Huh. I never considered that, because, like, okay, so not to compare Quicksters, obviously, but, like, we know characters like Flash, Kid Flash, Impulse. They don't have that issue. They have other issues, obviously.
Yeah.
But not that one. So I never stopped to consider that maybe that's how Quicksilver saw the world.
Yeah.
Huh. That's really cool, actually.
Like, he is... Whereas with, with different versions of the Flash who use the Speed Force, it's kind of more of a, like, switch they turn on and off.
Yeah, like...
Quicksilver is very fast all the time.
Wow. I never considered that. That's actually really cool. Huh. Yeah, like, that also goes into, like, the sort of, like, conversation of, like... I remember we were having this conversation before, but it was that conversation of, like, having superpowers in the real world would suck. Like, it would actually be horrible, because, like, there's just so many, like, things you have to take into account. Like,
especially if you, like, try to make any superpowers, like, physically accurate.
Exactly. Like, having super strength would be great, but you'd have to basically be like Superman. You're treating the entire world as if it's made of paper, and your muscles are probably going to explode at some point.
Or, like, if you have the power to turn invisible, you know, the reason why you can see has to do with light coming into your eyes and reflecting off retinas to, like, hit the nerve endings to give you information. So, like, chances are, if you're invisible and light is passing through you, then it's not doing what it needs to do for you to be able to see.
Yeah, so
for
you're
you to be able to process visual information.
At best, your body would basically be incinerated by the light traveling through you. At worst, the light would incinerate you, like, as it passes through your body, in a way that it really shouldn't. At best, you're blind.
Yeah. And, like, that's probably the same as, like, if you're, like, Shadowcat turning intangible, is, like, light and sound now also pass through you.
Yeah.
So you're probably blind and deaf. And, like, how do you control not falling through the floor? which is actually how they do Lemillion in
I was going to
My
say.
Hero Academia, and it's really funny.
Yeah, because, like, he has to constantly be on the lookout of, like, you know, not falling through the floor of the earth and basically trapping himself at its core.
Yeah, he's like, I've learned to do it with just, like, a part of my body at a time, and, like, when I walk through a wall, I have to kind of, like, carefully step through it, put my foot down, make my foot tangible again so it hits the floor, bring the rest of myself through the wall.
I'm not really into My Hero anymore, but I will admit I do like the system that they sort of established with the fact that, oh yeah, like, having these fantastical powers would be cool, but you got issues that you gotta deal with in regards to that first.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as glamorous as one might expect.
He had, like, the kind of, like... I had a terrible superpower, and I made it amazing.
Yeah. Like freaking Deku has to, like, break his bones every time he uses One for All.
Yeah. I think my problem with My Hero, not unlike what happened with Naruto, is I think, like, the scope of the series is just, like, getting outside. It's getting too big that it can't really, like, give the proper time to everything it wants to.
Yeah, I completely agree. We have a support conversation between Ephraim and Dusel.
Oh, let's do it. Dusel, can we speak?
Prince Ephraim. Of course, my friend.
I feel I should apologize for making you side against Grado in this.
Ugh, what nonsense. Please, use me however you would to end this war.
I want you to know how honored I am to fight at your side again. Show me a little of your skill with the spear, like when you taught me.
Ephraim, your skills have grown significantly since then. Why, the first time I met you, you could hardly hold a spear. I couldn't even bring myself to lie and say that you weren't that bad.
There's no need to be cruel. I realize how helpless I was then.
Let me finish. Even then, your strong will was most impressive. On your first day wielding a spear, you chose to challenge me. I remember how enthusiastic your attack was. You were determined to win. But you were destined to lose that day. Still, I was quite shocked. You weren't trying to learn my skill. You were trying to steal it from me. And I thought an apprentice was supposed to be obedient to his master.
When you fight, you must respect your opponent, not obey him. Besides, you knocked me out so quickly I hardly touched you.
I never dreamed of testing my skills against the Prince of Renee. After that match, though, I changed my mind. I knew it would be interesting to teach my skills to someone like you.
Now you're the one speaking nonsense. I know. I know. Let's duel again after this battle. I'm older now, better trained. I'm sure I can beat you this time.
Yes, fine. I'd like to see if you've been keeping up with your training.
I know you voiced Dusel, I think.
Did I?
I don't remember, honestly.
I couldn't remember.
It was fine either way. Yeah, here I was a little bit worried about, like, how daunting the Tower of Valni would be. Turns out we're kind of a little over-leveled for this. But we're still getting some tangible benefit out of it.
Yeah.
My only concern is that we're gonna run out of weapons. We have some spare in the convoy. We just had to do a little bit of, like, item maintenance later.
After Chapter 19, we're gonna get some more money, too. So that'll help us resupply then.
Yeah, because after that, there's only 2 chapters left, but those 2 chapters are...
I think they're concurrent. I think they're Chapter 20 right into Chapter 21.
Yeah, and both are pretty daunting, for different reasons. But yeah, no, everyone's doing really good right now. It's also the boss up there. We have a new unit here. The what?
The
Gwilgi?
Gwilgi.
Gwilgi?
Gwilgi.
Gwilgi, savage three-headed hellhounds. Their fangs are cruel death dealers. Huh. I've actually... I mean, I think it's Norse, but I'm actually not familiar with this term.
It is Welsh.
Welsh, okay.
The Gwilgi, compound noun of either Gwilit, wild, or Gwil, twilight, plus sea, dog, is a mythical dog from Wales that appears as a frightful apparition of a mastiff or black wolf, similar to a dire wolf, with baleful breath and blazing red eyes. I don't think they necessarily had multiple heads, but, you know, we're combining it a little bit with the Cerberus.
Right.
Or, sorry, the Cerberus. A really long time I used to say Cerberus, which is wrong. And every once in a while I, like, go back to that.
That actually brings up a funny moment that I had recently. I don't think Amber will have too much of an issue with me mentioning this, right? So you know those, like, sort of things where, like, you pronounce a word for so long that you know for a fact that it's this, but in actuality it's actually that, and you find out later and it kind of blows your mind? She had that recently. So you know Sanskrit? The language Sanskrit.
Yeah.
For the longest time, she thought it was Sanskrit.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't blame her for that one.
I get that.
Specifically because Sanskrit is actually a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, it is a computer language.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. Like, Sanskrit, like, script is a computer language, whereas a Sanskrit is actually the, like, you know, the original language that, like, we associate with, I believe it was Egypt? I could be wrong there.
You know what? I'm gonna, for the sake of education, I'm going to get an exact...
Yeah, please do, because, like, I like to think that I'm, like, well-versed in things, but I've gotten things wrong before.
Okay, so it's more like South Asia, like what is now India.
Got it, thank you. So, not entirely off the mark, but still kinda, no.
You're a few hundred miles away.
Better than a whole continent, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's one word that, you've always said, one way, but then you kind of came to find out later that it's actually pronounced this way?
Well, the word gauge, I thought a lot of, like, I would hear the word gauge a lot, and I knew what that was, but when I would see it in text of, like I'm trying to gauge his strength, I, like, didn't know that was the same word, so I would always just, like, think in my mind, goug.
Oh, yeah, or, like, gouge?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a similar case with that word specifically, because when I first read it in text, I thought it was like, is this gouge? Like, you're gouging someone?
Yeah. Because frankly, I don't know where that U is coming from.
I mean, the English language is weird, so, like, it's not entirely out of the question, at least I don't think so.
That U is sort of acting like a Y.
For me, it's vice versa. For the longest time, I thought it was, like, vice versa, because that, like...
Vice versa.
Yeah, that kind of, like, rolls off the tongue a little bit better. But then I read it was like, oh, it's vice versa, not vice versa. Huh. Okay.
This is a pet peeve. I don't do this one, but
yeah,
it bothers me when people do this. Is when somebody says, "Oh, I could care less."
Oh.
If you don't care about it, what you say is, "I couldn't care less."
Yeah, as in, like, there is no possible way for me to care any less than I already do.
Because you don't care.
Yeah.
So you couldn't care less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but people say, I could care less. Does that indicate that you actually care a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do understand that one.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged, too. I've done that a couple times, too, before I realized, oh, it's actually said this way.
I understand it a little bit, too, because it's kind of like a... It's a very, like, sarcastic phrase.
Yeah, it is. But, like, usually a good way to remember it is, like, I couldn't give two... you know.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I couldn't give two, I'm just gonna say it. I couldn't give two fucks about something, right?
Yeah.
It's the same vein there. I couldn't care less. I couldn't give two fucks about something. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And on that note, I think we're gonna go ahead and take a break here and continue the Tower of Valni next time, because this is a lot. Though I think to a lot of you, it's going to be like, oh, we're just going to move on to the next part.
Yeah.
So just understand that I'm saying this now, in that if you hear John and I talking about something completely different next time,
Yeah.
that's why. So we'll see you guys in the next part.
How impressive would that be if we were, like, still just talking about semantic bullcrap next time?
Dude, you and I have had hours-long conversations about weirder, alright? So...
you know, it's taking for granted, not taken for granted.
People have done that?
I've done that before I really knew what the phrase was.
So what are you doing? Taken for granted? Like, what, do you have a boss named Granite, or are you just, like, a servant of this giant stone granite golem or something?
You just, like, you underappreciated it so much that it was basically just, like, rocks to you. I don't know.
You know what, though? I don't hate it. I don't hate that explanation.
My favorite one is, oh, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Are you serious?
That's a joke from something. I've never heard anybody.
I was gonna say. Oh, goodness.
It's dog-eat-dog world. What? That's terrible.
It is. It is.
Why would dogs eat each other?
Oh, you... Let us educate you, my friend.
I wanted it to be a dog-eat-dog world.
Oh my god. That would be so much better, though.